Well, hello everybody and welcome back downstairs into the basement for a look at what's going on here in my little aquaponic basement lab, whatever you want to call it, my garden retreat during the Manitoba winters. That's what it really is, let's call it a duck. So yes, welcome back into my garden hideaway underneath the house. Let's take a look at what's going on in the aquaponic garden because I'm kind of excited, but at the same time kind of nervous about a little bit, of what's going on. So yeah, let's take a look. First and foremost, how awesome do these guys look? For feeder fish that in any other home were probably just going to be food, a couple years later, I'd say they're doing all right. I do think, picking up a few more of them at some point would be a good idea, but with everything that's going on these days, I really just don't know if fish are currently considered essential. So I'm not sure I could even buy fish if I wanted to go down to the city, which I kind of don't. Tank is looking good. I'm still enjoying having the colored rocks in the bottom there. I know it is an opportunity to catch filth and muck and all kinds of stuff, but when I add water, I'm just topping it up from the tap down here. So I've got a hose and I'm using that to swirl it up and it all gets sucked up against, I don't know if you can see the little sponge filter going into the pump there. And then that gets cleaned off into a bucket and we're pretty much good to go. It's amazing and disgusting at the same time just how much muck that little sponge absorbs. But they certainly seem like happy, healthy fish to me, so there's no real complaints or arguments there. Just not quite enough of them for what I'd like to grow. This little hydroponic garden they sent me has worked out pretty well for a goldfish tank. Anyway, let's look up on top of it here and see what we've got growing on. First off, we've got a couple of my little cuttings here. While these little shot glass sized party cups did not necessarily work out well for seedlings, as I had initially hoped, they do seem to be pretty good for cuttings when it comes to these assorted succulents. I've got these ones here. We've got this one up here from Shox's plant in the window. I really like this particular plant. I'm not sure I could grow succulents in the aquaponics, but growing them on it's kind of nice. Got the driftwood in the background, And then here's the one that so-called friend rodent helped itself to. Come on, focus. We can see it looks like three little, I want to call them rosebuds, rosettes of growth are coming back. So that's fantastic. So far, up on top of this garden bed seems to be a rodent-free space. So fingers crossed. Here we've got the red currant that I transferred out of the aquaponics and into some soil. It seems to be surviving. That's fairly fresh growth. And this is just under a 42 watt LED shop light. So not bad, not bad. Yeah, there's like three little rosettes in there. We got this poor sage. This sage is really not doing well. I really need to take it out. Just can't bring myself to do it. It's survived so long and been through so much. And still pretty aromatic when I bash it around. Now in front of the sage, you might notice I've got some dowers going on here that were not here last time we checked. These are cuttings from the Polar Jewel Haskap berries. So these are the smaller berries out of those two bushes, but the larger of the bushes. And I cut them off just before Christmas. It's not really focusing on them very well. I do apologize for that. And they were just little, nubs because they were outside, frozen, waiting for spring. Since they've been in here and in the garden, those leaf blossoms, we'll call them? Sure, leaf buds, there we go, have opened up a little bit and we're starting to get a little bit of green production on here. But I know that is pulling life from these twig stems, and I don't know if they're going to have enough residual in there combined with whatever they get from photosynthesis under this LED light to actually produce roots for me, the same as these red currant cuttings have done. Apparently currants are ridiculously easy to root, so I'm going to try a few more experiments with these come spring and summer. Hopefully we're going to have an absolute ton of those coming up, but right now it looks like this one maybe didn't make it. But otherwise, I got 5 still in there. Got 1 over there. Not bad, not bad. Would be really nice if some of these honeyberry cuttings do get around to producing roots for me, but I'm really not going to hold my breath. Alright, let's take a look at what's growing on around the rest of this place. Doesn't take long to tour a single aquaponic table, does it? Oh yes, before we leave here, let's take a look and see how this is doing. I love aquaponics for the easy pull factor. Do we have any kind of roots forming on here? Really nothing I can see at this time. Oh, maybe a little something on the bottom of that. Very hard to tell. I'm going to put that back in with 2 hands, and then yeah, we'll go check on the aloe table and the Darwin table. How's that look coming over to the aloe table? Hey, not bad, not bad. And there's the one beside it. Also doing pretty darn good. Surprisingly well, really, because I mean there's no airflow in the bottom of this. What I still think is probably a chamber pot. I don't know. Got some incredible stem growth on this particular aloe. I keep hoping that it will start throwing up pups one day. But so far, it just keeps on shooting up in the middle. Still very impressive though. This was like a $7 plant. Actually, these were both $7 plants from the same store, just about a year apart. This one lived in the kitchen window for a good 2 years, and I thought would get to be significantly larger than the one that was living downstairs under fluorescent light for most of its life. But I mean, look how dark this is comparatively. Look, it's quite thicker. When you cut them open, the quality of the gel is pretty much the same. But I mean, this looks like, I would say that's probably a more vibrant plant. So that's kind of interesting in and of itself. Back here in the rescued aloe, we've got more pups shooting up, so that's fantastic. I didn't kill this thing. It's wonderful news there. Let's give it a bit of a spin. What else we got going on in here? Oh, change angle a little bit here. See if I can get some better light for the camera in there. Just maybe try zooming. I'm not very good with the zoom on this camera. Alright, okay. Change the angle of the actual planter. Anyway, we've got a few more coming up in there. So that's good. At least I now have a source of fresh aloe pups to play with. Learn a little bit more about. Here we've got some of the ones that didn't have roots on them. They do look kind of sad. You know, it's kind of wrinkly. Let's look at it. It's kind of light too, though. I should water that. That one's fairly light as well. Again, kind of wrinkly. The ones upstairs have been chewed on by the kitten, but they're doing a little bit better because they've got roots. They've got the ability to kind of take up new energy. And this table has recently gotten a couple of these just to kind of throw in some mix, take up some of the extra light. But ultimately, I'm really impressed by what this rescued aloe has done for us. I'm really excited and looking forward to having a lot more of these around the house. Aloe vera is just, it's another one of those plants. I honestly believe you cannot have too many of them growing around the house. And I mean, look at this. Not bad for a fluorescent shop light, and an old light at that. At least 2 years running on those particular bulbs. So they're probably going to expire sometime soon, but such is life. Alright, over to the Darwin table. Not so much going on here these days. I mean, this fern, hear that? That is not a good sound for a fern. I think it's going to come down to next time I get one, I'm going to have to transplant it out a lot sooner. learn a lot more about ferns in general, but it was kind of fun to have one for a little while. We got my spider plants all over here. Tons of spider plants all over. The potato seedlings did eventually die off, kind of as I expected. I wasn't really paying them quite enough attention. So if we look down here at the purple trumpet vine, we've got the remnants of one of the flowers on there. Kind of pretty. Should have come down yesterday, I guess, because these were both quite glorious. But today, they kind of look like poo. Oh, here we got one down there. It's a little more in its prime. But again, with the camera and the lights and all that, you're not getting to see it as glorious as I am. Is that annual? Shar and I were discussing this. I think we're going to give it back to its original owner for their birthday, which is like in May. So by then it'll only be a couple more weeks. They can take it back outside and enjoy it for another year. And then we'll find out whether or not we're looking after it again next winter. Could be fun. Plant games, you know. More spider plants. More spider plants. What a surprise! I need to get some variety going on in this houseplant table. But all the kalanchoes ended up in a single planter upstairs. So they are doing ridiculously well in the bathroom garden. And I'm inclined to leave them there. And that's about it. So I guess I'm going to wrap it up here and say thank y'all for joining me as we're starting yet another year of gardening, which in my case is still 5 or so months away for outside. But I'm going to try and take a more scheduled, sort of planned attack sort of approach to gardening this year, because I have learned a few things that have actually worked in this short season. So I'm going to try and bring those into play. We're going to try and remember some of the things we learned in the Three Sisters garden this year and bring that into play. And we're going to try and bring this garden season home with a big old win. All right, y'all, we're going to do it. We're going to work as a team. We're going to get them plants out there working as a team, and we're going to get it done. And I wish the same for your gardens this year. And it's going to be really interesting. So stick around and be prepared for some more horsing around, and bear with me. We'll get it all done. But by gumption, we will grow ourselves a garden this year if we have to get real dirty to do it. In fact, kind of hope to get real dirty doing it. So yeah, new garden plots. All right. Much love, everybody. I will see you next time.